Imagine there you stand, with your brothers in arms, sword in hand. In the distance you can hear the British. You're about to be part of one of the fastest battles in history, the Battle of Killiecrankie. In about 30 minutes, the British suffer about 5,000 deaths, and the Scottish Highlanders only suffer about 800. I'm not just describing a random battle of history. I'm here today to talk about something that played a large part in this battle. What I'm talking about is the Scottish fighting dagger, aka the dirk of the 16th and 18th century. The Scottish dirk was a sidearm in most battles, and even was carried around in most day-to-day life. The dirk is a knife or dagger that is about 18 inches long. The Scottish people used as a sidearm to the Scottish claymore or two-handed sword. The dirk could be held in the offhand, underneath a leather shield called a targe. The targe was small enough that the dagger could still be used. With the ability of defense and offense, the dirk proved to be a useful tool on the field. The dirk was inspired by a British knife called the Bullock's dagger. The Bullock dagger is a short, double-edged knife, and the hilt is a very distinct shape. The dirk was often used as a frontier knife, used for any need a knife could be used for, such as skinning animals. The dirk is often confused for something called a scian-dubh, which is another Scottish knife, yet much smaller and held in the sock. So what makes a dirk a dirk? In my opinion, there are 5 main things that a Scottish dirk must have. First, the blade must have something called a false edge. False edge is about 3 inches from the tip of sharpened or beveled material to make it easier to penetrate an enemy. Second, it must have a through tang. So a through tang is the material attached to the blade that goes through the handle. A through tang is a small piece that goes clean through the wood material to the other side to then be peened or hammered to hold the handle on. Then third, the dagger must have a fuller. A fuller is a line or bevel in the material to make it lighter. It's about that long and is just removed material down the center of the blade. Fourth, it must be a long blade. It has to be long enough to stick out from the targe. The hilt must resemble an hourglass shape. It must be wide at the top, thin in the middle, wide again at the bottom. This is the standard shape for most historic dirks. The main reason I decided to talk about a dirk is because I plan on trying to make one of these myself by hand. So I wanted to talk about the main process of making any sort of blade, but specifically the dirk. So to start off, one must decide on the design. So the design is best chosen from anything you can find on the internet. So any of the designs that you find can work, and then you must write it down precisely and copy it to the end, or your material and end product will be unsatisfying. So next, choose a material. So what I'm personally going to use is probably a high carbon and low carbon material forged together to make something called Damascus steel, which is just the process of putting more than one type of material and then working it in to make both materials show after an etching process, which is just an acid that makes both types of metal look differently colored. Next, you have to obviously put a handle on it. It's useless without a handle, so my idea is to just remove a tree from the woods, file it down, rasp it down, cut it down into making something that fits my hand. So then next is the fitting. You're going to need to put everything together, make sure it fits before you finally finish the product by hammering it together, gluing it together, peening it together, all the processes that will finally hold to make a useful blade. So, in conclusion, I have discussed a brief history of the Scottish dirk and some of the key features and the process of which I would use to smith one out. Thank you.